in Christ, men who are altered men in Christ Jesus must operate in courage on somewhat of a continual basis and get to where God has called them to be.
I think it becomes superhuman when you become intentional about the development of that purpose and then share it with the world.
And you said something to the effect of, a man will not understand himself truly until he is running after something greater than himself.
And the reason I'm asking is there's some guys out here who have walked that journey and they're doing great. Don't say, all right, I got this. Go help somebody else.
All right, welcome back to the Altered Manhood Podcast. I got my man Jerry, my man Ralph, and our special guest today, Mr. Frank Rich. Welcome to the show, Frank. Great to have you, brother. So before we jump into Frank's introduction, which we will briefly, we want to remind you guys, Altered Manhood Podcast, like, share, subscribe, but also I want to plug Frank's podcast. If you haven't heard the Superhuman Life podcast, you've got to check it out. All major platforms, right, Frank?
Everywhere.
He's up to 300 plus episodes, is that right?
Over 6 years, one released as of the recording of this show.
Unbelievable.
Wow. Videos on YouTube, videos on Spotify now as well. Wonderful. An awesome feature.
Yeah, so I've been following Frank for years. He's a great friend of all of ours, and we're going to have a great show today. But let's introduce him first. So Frank Rich is a former bodybuilder, entrepreneur, men's health coach, and host of the Superhuman Life podcast. After living with and battling addiction, depression, and anxiety for almost 20 years, he has won a mission. He's on a mission and has won in his mission to help men who are suffering from the same issues and take back control of their lives through the power of faith and fitness. Frank has helped thousands of men transform their physiques through his online coaching platform, where he provides content, programs, and services to men looking to build more muscle, drop body fat, and build their greatest bodies. He's also the founder and CEO of the Rebuilt Recovery, a company based on a growth-centric, holistic approach to addiction recovery. Rebuilt Recovery provides fitness training for men going through recovery, as well as one-on-one coaching for men aiming to break free from porn addiction. His goal is that by being open and transparent with his struggles and having real and raw conversations with others who have overcome adversities, that he can empower you to face your darkness and take control and ultimately create the life you've always dreamed of on your own, the superhuman life. Welcome, Frank. How are you today, man?
I'm great, man. Nice and early. Excited.
That's right. You're dragging on us with you guys do this early. Well, that's fine. We're going to be good. Content doesn't matter. You don't care how early we do this. So, Frank, lead us in, man. The goal of today really, and the goal of the Altered Manhood podcast has always been, it really aligns with what you're doing. How can we help men walk and grow in the victory that they have been given in their relationship with Jesus, in their relationship with Christ, with the men around them? So I'd like for you to tell us a little bit introduce yourself to the audience, tell us a little bit about your story, and kind of where you're at today. I know it's a lot, but do your best. You're really good at this.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, guys. I've looked up to all of you over the last few years, and you've all played small roles in my development. And if I can do anything here today, obviously you guys are going to lead the way and carry this conversation, and maybe I can provide some unique insights through the work that we've done and the story life that I've lived. But the bio kind of explained it, right? Health, fitness, recovery, podcasting is what I do here. But I got to this point really starting in 2016. So through my 20s and 30s, it was really a worldly life. I chased everything that I believed was success. Money, status, relationships, women, sex, all the things that the world will tell you make you a man, and was good at a lot of it. And by my early 30s, I kind of woke up and I built this life and this identity of a successful bodybuilder, an entrepreneur, a party boy, maybe, so to speak, because I thought that's what was maybe cool, because once again, that's what the world tells you.
Right.
Makes a man.
Mm-hmm.
And despite having what I thought was all of it, I was empty on the inside. Mm-hmm. And why I love what you guys do here and, bringing men together and combining leadership and faith and identity it was those type of conversations that changed my life. So I was going through a business kind of transition in 2016. I had a company in the ticketing and entertainment space for a handful of years, very successful. But it was lacked of any kind of passion. And I'd always been into fitness and worked in gyms through my 20s. And I wanted to take this kind of message and hope that I could inspire others. And that's where, the Frank Rich Fitness stuff started. But through that journey, I knew I needed some help. So I sought out some business mentorship and through trying to find business coaches and mentors, I really found my true identity. So I didn't know it at the time when I hired a business coach that he was going to lead me to Christ. But I remember sitting in a business mastermind in Toronto, July of 2017. And my coach at the time, Vince, brings his father up to the show. And, I've been open and transparent. I have the greatest relationship growing up with my dad. There was a lot of anger towards him. We've reconciled it. He's, one of my best friends today. But it was unique that I was in this business event and this guy brings his father up to talk. And one thing that struck me right away was the love at which he described his relationship with his dad. And it kind of shook me internally. I recalling as I'm sharing it here, this is unique. This is not what I thought I was getting into. Mm-hmm. I'm I'm here to learn marketing, sales funnel, how to make business, right? Yeah. What's your dad doing with this LBW stuff?
What's your dad doing here?
His dad was a pastor, and he brought a group of men in that room to tears. And I instantly felt something different there. I said, these are guys that I respect and admire from a success standpoint. Mm-hmm. But when you're around them, you feel different. Mm. Wow. And through that event, I created a handful of relationships that would then go on to kind of change the trajectory of my life. So that was the summer of 2017. Over the next 12 months, I was heavily involved in this group, this mastermind, going to events, networking with guys local and across the country and across the world, really. And the business that really took off in the way that it did. But one of the relationships that was fostered in that first event was with my great friend Josh. You've read Josh's book, The Standard. And Josh began to, become a confidant and advisor, and I would say a best friend, brother, and uncle type of figure in my life. And he was flying down from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to Orlando in October 2018. And he said, "Hey, Frank, I want you to drive over. It was about an hour drive and spend the day with me." I sat down for lunch with Josh on Church Street in downtown Orlando. And here I thought I was going to have, a regular conversation with Josh about just life and updates and business and what's going on. And we're sitting in this empty steakhouse on a Thursday afternoon. He said, "Frank, can I ask you 2 questions?" I said, "Sure, Josh, you can ask me whatever you want. That's why you're here."
Of an hour.
Right. How do you like your steak? He said, how is your relationship with your father? And what do you know about God?
Oof.
And I kind of had
a couple bombs he dropped.
Pause for a minute, because a week prior to that, I'd had a conversation in my kitchen with my girlfriend at the time. Because like I said, the success in the business wasn't taking off in the way that I wanted it to. Mm-hmm. And I didn't grow up in a house of faith. We didn't really have conversations about God. We attended church a handful of times as a kid, and it was always on Easter, and it was stressful, and I had to wear a tie. We sat in the back and we were late, and I felt out of place. So my identity is growing up as a boy and as a teenager was there's church people and then there's us. And there was this separation. So that was an identity that I held very strong, is I'm just not one of these church people. But through being in this mastermind, through being around these very strong kingdom-driven men that led with their heart, that led with Christ first, but also had the material success that I was trying to build on my own, I began to ask the question of what makes all these guys difference.
Mm-hmm.
And prior to that conversation with Josh in Orlando, I remember talking to my girlfriend. And I said, Steffi, I don't know what's going on here. Why isn't this working? I'm applying all the tactics here. My marketing funnels are identical. I'm implementing everything that I'm being taught. I'm like, all these other guys are going to church. Maybe I should go to church.
So good. Let's go. I love this.
So this is a week prior.
This was a week prior to Josh asking me that question. And it was purely me thinking that church was going to answer my business.
Right. It was an intellectual. You're like, okay,
That's
what
how
am I
my brain
missing?
works is I try to rationalize and logically lead to
Why
solution.
am I not winning?
Yeah. But as I reflect back now and I have over the years, I saw all these moments throughout those 18 months where God was present and I didn't even recognize it. So when Josh asked me that question, yeah, it shook me for a minute, but it actually brought me to a place of like peace because I said, that is the answer.
Mm.
Yeah.
And we sat there for, God, I don't know how many hours, because I was open to discussion. And I shared that with him. And I said, yeah, I want to learn and I want to grow more and I want to understand what this means because obviously these signs have led me to something that I'm supposed to know a whole lot more about. So we stepped out of the restaurant that day right there on Church Street. Very symbolic. Once again, I see signs and I see symbolism in so many things. Across the street was a history center. And for the first time in my life, I ever had somebody pray for me and accepted Christ into my life on October 22nd of 2018. And it began this journey that I've been on now for almost 7 years, so I had to really begin to understand what this relationship meant, what pursuing Christ, what living and walking in truth and identity, because I had lived a double life for over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
On the outside, people saw success, bodybuilding, maybe happiness, but on the inside, it was guilt, shame, addictions, pornography, lies. I was very good at hiding all that stuff. So as I began to understand that God's word is truth and the only way you grow closer to him is you pursuing truth on a daily basis, I had to open up the closet and pull it all out. So months of me, really exposing myself led me to a point where the biggest thing in my life that I'd never been able to truly have a handle on was my pornography use. Drugs, alcohol, I struggled with them, but I could get control. I would have never really had said, yeah, I'm an alcoholic or a drug addict. It was just something that I would do and then I'd get control of it. Porn was a daily consistent in my life since the age of 15. If you go back even younger, I first saw it when I was 6, but it was there daily. It was what I realize now is a place of comfort.
Yeah. Stop you just for 1 second.
Yeah.
You said something really important. I think when you talk about early exposure, I think the world really tries to dismiss that. Right. And so you said 6 years old.
Yeah.
And now as a boy having that impression at 6 years old and then having to figure out, number one, what does that mean? What did I just look at? Did I get any guidance from it? Was I told that it was meant for other things instead of just being, used for a purpose, right? It being using a female, right? So I just wanted to pause because I think the audience needs to hear. I think it's very important, right? If you've been exposed, and I've seen this over and over again in men's ministry, right? I was exposed young and I just don't know how to deal with it. Yeah, I was exposed young and I just don't know how to deal with it. So I just want to make that point as he goes along because it's very important. You're listening to this thing and you're exposed young. That's not your fault, right? It's not your fault. And the enemy will use that to jam you in a corner and shame you. And so, Frank's going to probably get into that, but I just wanted to pause and say that because I've seen that over and over again. It's not your fault. You were exposed to it.
Yeah. And we can circle back and I'd happy to discuss more about this, but the evidence is very clear that the age of exposure, the earlier you are exposed, due to prefrontal cortex development, what we understand about neuroscience now, and the fact that today's boys and young men are getting introduced to a porn that I didn't have access to. I saw a magazine, that was one type of it, created a lot of guilt and shame, which then becomes a place of comfort. But today's modern technology, the streaming internet, is a whole different lever that is tapping into the science of the brain. So there's tons and tons of evidence. We've talked about this handful of times with Dr. Trish Lee on the podcast, that the age of exposure does oftentimes it can be an early indicator of addiction. Wow. But yeah, you made a very powerful point. It's not your fault if you saw it. I would say once you recognize that it's a problem, though, it becomes the man's responsibility to get control of it. And we can circle back to all that stuff there.
So Frank, let me pause you right quick. This is, all right. So you had all these altered man moments, right? And what I call an altered man moment is Church Street. Oh, how's your dad? How's your relationship with God? Like these unexpected moments where God is like, hey, I'm trying to get your attention. Mm-hmm. Hey, you go to the mastermind in Toronto and it's like, what's a pastor doing here? Like, I'm here to learn about phones. And I think it's important for us as men to understand that God is pursuing us.
Yeah.
Like he desires to be in a relationship with us, right? And so, but you said something just a minute ago and, you said the guilt and shame becomes a place of comfort. Man, can you bridge that? Because when I think about guilt and shame, I'm like, I don't think about comfort. I think about hiding. I think about, oh no, you know what I mean? Like no one can know. How does that place? Because I think that's the enemy. Mm-hmm. Right? How does that become comfort? Where I'm in this place now. How does that? If you can unpack that just a little bit for me.
No, and I think you used great language there in describing it. Guilt, shame becomes a place of hiding. Most people are afraid. I think they're afraid of who God has actually called them to be. Because we all know it's work. Like, I thought this back in 2018, I got God in my life now. Everything's going to be easy.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And then like a month goes by and I'm like, seriously? It's so much harder. So it takes courage. It takes risk. It takes the ability to fall on your face time and time again to truly walk in relationship with God. Mm-hmm. What's easy? Hiding. Yeah. If, as men, you hear something outside, you guys protect your wives. I hear you talk about it all the times on the show. Like it's a responsibility to be the leader in the house. If there's something happening outside, what would be the easy thing to do? Go hide upstairs in the dark.
Yeah.
So what's the hard thing? To step outside and be like, what's going on out here?
Right.
So if from an early age, you found shame and guilt as a place of comfort, well, then that easily becomes the escape path. Because stepping out of courage, stepping out of truth, stepping out of integrity takes a lot of courage.
So I'm reminded right now, and Tim, I'm going to kick it back to you because I think you got questions, but I'm reminded of Abraham. Go to a land, I'll show you. That's what God told Abraham, right? Takes courage, right? Joshua going into the promised land.
Yeah.
Be strong and courageous, or you can just hang out here.
Yeah.
Right. So there's this comfort. So like, it's almost like you're saying that in Christ, men who are altered men in Christ Jesus must operate in courage on somewhat of a continual basis to get to where God has called them to be.
Yeah. And
would you agree with that?
100%. And I think you could even go earlier into the story of Genesis, right? So everything is amazing. We're in the garden in relationship with God. God leaves and we have everything here. Don't eat that one tree. Boom. Our eyes are open, right? Mm-hmm. We now know that we are naked and we go and hide. It's the action that followed the first sin of man, to go hide.
That's good.
In shame.
It's good.
Yeah. And going back to, Jesus asking that guy that's been sick for 38 years, remember? Mm-hmm. You want to get well? 38 years. Yeah. Bro, you want to get well? Because we can get comfortable in our pain. You're get comfortable in that shame. It becomes this comfort in a way that lie, you have reorganized your life to live with that lie.
Yeah.
And we find ways to bring us comfort.
And it's easy to play a victim, and then you are devoid of responsibility, and then it becomes poor pity me, right? My pain, it's happened to me versus it's been the opportunity for me to grow into the man that God has called me to be.
So that's all. I mean, we could just keep going on this. One of the things I want to say before you keep on your story, because I want you to finish up with that, is one of the things I consistently am hearing you guys say is it takes courage, right?
Yeah.
It takes the tenacity to step out and pursue God. But I think one of the things we oftentimes miss is, why is it still good? Because the reward is so much better.
Yeah.
Right? We have two paths. We can follow God and pursue his great reward. And Frank can talk about that. I'm sure he's going to where his life was and where his life is now. The reward of pursuit or the consequence of living in that hiding, living in that shame, living in that. And those are dark. Those are really, really, really bad. And I think every man needs to hear that, is you have to choose. And yes, one might be harder, but you build awesome things over here. You build confidence. You build self-esteem. You build, servant leadership. You build all these awesome attributes over here that garner you more respect from the people around you, that bring you a greater reward in your life, that can build your relationships, that can build your physical fitness. We can get into that too, because that's huge, taking care of the temple. But let's not miss that, right? Like the man that was there for 38 years, he was going down a terrible road with no hope, right? But when he got healed, man, he was on his way. And now he got to pursue that great reward that's out there. Because the world doesn't want to talk about that, right, Frank? The world doesn't want to say, hey, if you pursue this, there's great reward. Your marriage is going to be good. Your kids are going to have a great relationship with you. You're going to restore your relationship with your father. All the things that are important in eternity are down this road. But man, you want to live the life of destruction? Just keep hiding. So keep going. Tell us the rest of that story.
Yeah. So now I'm trying to understand this new relationship, walking with Christ and kind of unpacking, at this point would have been 35 years of lies that I believed and lies that I had told myself. And like I said, I think the thing that had a grip on me that I didn't probably truly understand how strong of a hold it had on me up until this point was pornography. And once again, linking back to the way that my brain works, there's got to be a rational, logical solution to all of this. So at this point now, I'm podcasts, reading the books, your brain on porn, trying to understand, okay, what's the science behind this? Is there a pathway out of it? Just 2018, there weren't a lot of conversations like the alternate podcast talking about porn. There were very few. So there weren't a whole lot of resources out there, but I'm trying to grab everything I possibly get my hands on to try to understand, why can't I get a hold of this thing? Why do I constantly return back to it? Why does it make me feel the way? Because I grew up in a culture that said porn was just something that every man did. It was normal. It's accepted. You're not a man if you don't do it. It's going to help you in all these other ways. But it made me feel so disgusting and shameful in who I was that I knew that it wasn't right. So I'm unpacking all these things. I'm, watching the TED Talks on YouTube. I'm trying to understand the science of it. And we're now 4 or 5 months after October. So this is February of 2019. Once again, back into that group of guys that I was, living life with at the time. One of them, after an afternoon workout, we're sitting down in my car having a conversation on a Thursday. And he says, Frank, and his name's Zach, Marine, alpha dude, a dude I just have so much respect for. Just a guy that, when he said this to me, I wasn't expecting. He said, Frank, I've been doing a lot of this breathing exercise, nervous system control. And you want to know what the best part of it is, man? It's helping me control my porn addiction. And I kind of sat back. It was one of those moments again, like I had in lunch with Josh. I said, porn, because I never talked to another grown man about watching porn and how it was a struggle. And I said, what are you talking about? He's like, dude, I've been struggling with porn for 10 years. After service in the military, it came back home with me. It was so normalized. It was one of those altered man moments, like we said, because I said, Zach, I don't know why you felt the need to tell me that today, because it came out of blue. It came out of left field. We were talking about biceps. And I'm like, dude, where did this come from? But I felt it again. I said, you were supposed to share that with me today, man. And I think I'm supposed to share this with you. I've been trying to unpack this in my life for months now. I want to thank you for saying that because, dude, I can't figure it out as well. Like, I don't know why it's got a grip on me, why I can't stop watching it. I've looked at all the videos. He said, dude, man, he's like, you got to believe that you can quit. That's the first thing. I said, and it's good. Believe. I said, okay. I said, Zach, I need a couple things, man. It's like, can I just call you? Like, if I'm struggling, like, will you be accountability? He said, absolutely. We had this, masculine, embracing kind of moment, like dudes crying and hugging in the car. I was like, not what I was expecting after an intense workout.
Not from a Marine, right?
Not from him, but knowing Zach now, I mean, that's who he is to do that. Yes. Yeah. And that's, those are real men. That's what I would describe is a real man that can kind of dodge that polarity of strength and softness. Driving back home, I knew I had to have some serious conversations. One with, my girlfriend at the time. I knew that she knew that I watched it, but it wasn't like something that she probably thought like was a struggle at the time. Mm-hmm. And I had a secret laptop that hid in the closet. This is how now I know that it was a massive problem. Is I had orchestrated a life where there was a separate computer that I looked at porn on that nobody would ever be able to find. I hid it in a closet. So there was no history. There was no oopsie. How did you find that? It was like I was doing everything I could to make sure that nobody in my life would ever find out the things that I was looking at. So next morning I pulled a laptop out of the closet, go to Stephanie's room, and I'm like, hey, I just want to have a conversation with you here, and start telling her all this. And I'm breaking down crying now. She's like, she doesn't understand it because once again, porn addiction wasn't understood to the level that it is today. And that's why I love what you guys are doing here and what we've been able to do with our show. But once again, 6 years ago, it was just normally accepted, right? Both in the church and I think obviously in the world there as well. I said, Seth, I started with this thing. It's had like this massive grip on me. In a defining moment there is like, I'm so committed to doing this in my life. I want you to watch me destroy this laptop. And I took it, and I always share the story, and it sounds cool that I ripped the laptop apart with two hands. But they're made out of two parts. When you really think about it, like it's actually two pieces that are just very good to mess with a couple screws. How if it was an iPad, I'd be like, whoa.
So right down the middle.
But I think for me, understanding the pathway to freedom and working with as many guys as we have, it was more about not breaking the laptop, but what the breaking of the laptop signified. It was total destruction of an old self. It was me killing that old version. So I ripped this laptop apart. I take it, I throw it in the trash, out on the street. It was trash day. I pull my phone up. Josh and I use a messaging app called Marco Polo where we send video messages back and forth. Josh being the guy that 4 months ago was sitting with me in Orlando. I shared it with him. I said, Josh, man, I want to share something with you. Like now I'm excited, like to talk about it because like I literally felt free.
Came out
in that moment. I said, Josh, man, like you may not know this about me. You probably don't because I've never shared it with you, but I've been a porn addict for 20 years. Like it's been an everyday habit. I've been ashamed of it. I hid it. I had secrets. Like I watched stuff that I'm now disgusted about. I'm like, but I want to show you. And I showed him the trash. I said, there's the laptop where I used to watch it at. And as I ended that call with Josh, I remember saying the words, I don't know what today is going to be to, but I can tell you it's the beginning of something truly. Wow, that's good. It's awesome. Yeah. And that was the beginning of, the Superman life and the rebuilt man and all the things that we're doing today. But it took months, right? Because it wasn't like I didn't have to overcome struggles and challenges and issues. I was really getting to try to walk in a new identity now. But as the months progressed from that day on February, I felt free. I felt peace for the first time in my life. And I felt hopeful about a future, whereas in the past, the future always presented itself as darkness to me. And as being somebody that studied personal development, had conquered fitness, and felt that I had a lot of tools and insights about growth and discipline and all these things, yet I still struggled with this. I felt God say, Frank, like you need to share this story, like with other people. So that led me to launching the Superhuman Life podcast. You know, I had a small fitness company, so there was a small online following that we had developed. So I said, maybe there's a guy out there in the fitness world that doesn't know the impact that porn is having on his life. Maybe he hasn't read 500 books on neuroscience and personal development, you know, so he doesn't have the tools that I were maybe to have to help me through my journey. Maybe he doesn't have a relationship with God because he feels ashamed. Share your story. And that led me from launching the Superhuman Life podcast, which was really an opportunity for me to have conversations with other people like this. And, you know, 20, 30 episodes early on were about addiction, about people's recovery stories.
Mm-hmm.
God had its hand on the show, though, because we caught some very early traction. Apple picked us up. They put us on the front page, new and noteworthy. So the show kind of had this immediate spike in listenership. And what was cool for me to witness is, like I said, I'd been a little bit of an online presence and had built a little bit of a following in the muscle building space, because we had some impact there. So I was getting messages and emails every day. Frank, thank you for your workouts. You know, get 6-pack abs. You're helping me grow. I'm feeling more confident. Those messages started to change to, Frank, thank you for these conversations. Like, you're talking about the things that guys like you don't normally talk about. Months continue to go by. The message, Frank, I need you to help me.
Mm-hmm.
I really like what you're saying, but I'm struggling. Can you help? And leading us back to the business circles and the masterminds, January of 2020 now. So this is 7-8 months after the show. I'm sitting in another business event, and the person on stage was the same guy, Vince, that I learned from back in Toronto, and teaching this new kind of tactic to launch a coaching business. He said, it's simple. You put some text on the screen, and you say, I'm looking to help this many people with this problem, and I'll help you in this way. And it was literally that simple. Like, and I gotta say, Frank, you should do this with your porn addiction. Like, you have a lot of people asking you for help with porn. Like, just throw this out there and see if there's any interest with your small little, you know, Instagram following that you had at the time. I learned that on Saturday. Monday, I'm sitting there working 70 hours a week, building a marketing agency and doing the fitness coaching and podcasting on the side. I said, I'm just going to do this. Like, I'm just going to see. I literally typed the message up. I'm looking for 5 men that are struggling with a secret addiction to pornography. I will coach you over the next 4 months to help you rebuild your life without porn. I didn't know what I was going to do. Like I didn't have a program or process or anything, but so God has let me here. If this works, like he'll
provide.
Yeah, he'll step in. I put that message out. Guys, it was within less than 30 minutes. I had 3 messages in my inbox. 2 of those guys ended up signing up. They paid me, you know, a significant amount of money. And I told them, I don't know what I'm doing, like, but if you're willing to trust in me, we'll do this together. And if it doesn't work, I'll give you your money back. And that was just, I think that was the business entrepreneur in me. Like, hey, you gotta take a risk here. If it doesn't work out, like, you don't lose anything. You got a great career over here in marketing and you're doing the fitness stuff. So if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I thought I was supposed to do this. Mm-hmm. So those first 2 guys, Pete and JR, but they became the first 2 clients of Rebuild Recovery. And like I said, they got a weekly call with me. We'd have a call. I'd give them some action steps, and then I'd start working on the next week's curriculum. And we worked together for 4 months. By the end of those 4 months, I had enrolled like 3 or 4 more guys into this coaching program. So now we're kind of building some success because I'm seeing the impact it's having. Like, they're connected to their wives. Like, they're walking in confidence. Like, they're actually dating their life again for the first time. They're engaged with their kids. I'm like, they're getting healthier and more fit. I'm like, oh, this is actually changing these guys' lives. Mm-hmm. So by July of that year, I'm like, I'm shutting everything else down. I left the marketing company that I was with, and that became the beginning of Rebuild Recovery. So July 28th, 2020 was kind of the official, like, we are making this a thing. And it's been, 5 years, you know, plus since that day. 1,700 successful, you know, documented transformations.
Hold on. How many?
1,700.
1,700.
Documented.
I mean, tens of thousands of guys, you know, impacted, and I think 10,000
more than what's up.
But wait,
it's just what you know.
Those are the ones that told you about it.
Yeah,
Those are
exactly.
the ones that have become paying.
Right.
I mean, we've had 10,000 people, go through our free books and courses and programs, millions of, downloads and views on our videos. I mean, at one point we were reaching 200,000 plus a month.
Well, what you're saying is, and it's funny, like even as you say that, that's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
To the reality of those who are still hiding and walking in guilt and shame. Yes, we celebrate that.
Yeah.
The angels have a rejoice over them as souls say.
Sure.
But this problem crosses borders, crosses ethnic lines, nations. It has led to human trafficking.
Yeah.
Tampa's one of the hubs for human trafficking. Nebraska nation, number 3 in the nation. We're talking about a problem that can start in a mind and a heart at 6 years old.
Mm.
That is consumed by men, now women, are coming out saying, hey, look, this has impacted me in a negative way. So I'm grateful for the work that you get to do. I'm grateful to lock arms with you and Altered Manhood as we continue to try to reach men with truth and ways to transform their lives. Obviously, that's what Jesus Christ is all about. But I think you said something interesting along the way. You kept talking about community. Like not trying, like when I look at you and I see your courage and I've worked out with you before. Never went back.
I've yet to have the privilege. I've yet to have the privilege, Ralph.
Bro, he's a monster, right? And so here's the thing. Like, I love the community aspect, and I think there's so many men that don't realize how important the locker room is. How important it, you know what I'm saying, to have a coach. How important it is to have someone to believe in you. Like, even like with the laptop, ripping the laptop in half and saying, hey bro, like, you don't know this, but this is an altered man moment where God is God is doing something. I don't know what it is, but I'm not going back. Yeah, that's powerful.
I like it. So for one of the questions I got, and then we can kick it to Jerry. I know he's got one. All these clients you've worked with, right? What do you say to the man right now that's on the fence, right? What do you say to the guy that's like, man, I know I'm dealing with this. What's my first step? I want to be free from it, right? Because you have to have that, right? You got to have the guy that goes, man, I know this is a problem. I want to be free from it. I got to get these shackles off. What's the first step? Like for you, your first step was, all right, I'm going to go destroy this laptop, right?
Yeah.
But what is that first step for a guy? And how does he get there? How does he get on the other side of this thing to start?
Yeah. And I think the important thing you said there, Tim, is I thought in the beginning I was going to be able to help every guy. And I think I came out of the gate in some of the content and messaging, like trying to shift people's beliefs and understandings of, I don't struggle with this, to, no, you actually really do. And I see a lot of people that do that, like they try to tell people that they have a problem with something when the person is blind to it in and of themselves.
Yes.
You have to understand or want to change. Like you can only pass on to somebody that they actually want. So speaking to the guy that is, like you said, hey, I am struggling and I'm ready to change. What is his first step? It actually, mine wasn't the laptop moment. That came the second day. The first step was that conversation with Zach Quick.
Yeah.
It's a problem of isolation. It's done in secrecy. I think that's one of the things that makes pornography addiction so destructive is the anonymity or the secret component. You can be a very social, bubbly, personable alcoholic. People enjoy to have you around, but you're doing it in the community. So maybe sometimes you don't feel as bad about it because I'm drinking with Ralph. I'm drinking with Tim. We're having a good time here. You're not calling your buddies over and say, hey man, like let's all get like a intense, very dark porn session in together. You're doing it because you feel alone. 30% of men under the age of 30 right now report to having zero close personal friends. Isolation is the biggest epidemic facing men in today's culture. A lot of men above that age demographic, though, they're getting out there, they're working, they maybe have colleagues at work, and then they go home, they're providing for their families, and they show up on Sunday and they shake some people's hands and then they go back alone. Most men struggle to have that community. That's why it's such an important part of it. So for that guy that is saying, hey, I have a problem and I'm ready to make a change, your first step is to find somebody.
Good.
I don't care who it is. It could be a coach, a pastor, a mentor, a colleague. It could be your best friend. It could be the person across the street. If they're the right person. And how do you know if that person is the right person? Do you feel safe around them? Do you respect them? And can this conversation be had in a container of box that's absent of guilt, shame, and judgment? And most people's boys aren't going to be that person. Because if you go try to sit down over chicken wings and beer and bring this up with most of your buddies, they're going to like, bro, brush it off. What are you talking about, dude? It's just like, it's just a stress relief, right? Look at her over there. Like, yeah. Find that person in that safe container to have the honest, truthful conversation. Because once you get it off of your chest, it's like that first layer of guilt and shame now begins to kind of get removed. Yeah, there's a lot of work that's followed from that. But if I have a dark secret about the things that I'm looking at when nobody's around, and I've never shared it with anybody, that carries such a heavy weight on a man's identity that's saying, hey, Tim, there's some dirty things on the internet, man. Like, and I don't feel good when I look at it. Mm-hmm. But I just wanted you to know, man, that like I'm wrestling through this. Yeah. And if Tim's the right person, Tim's going to be able to say, dude, I understand, man. Like, we've all been there. There's hope and freedom on the other side of this, though. Thank you for sharing that. What do you need from me? So the first step, like I said, is having a conversation in a safe container box with a trusted person.
Bringing it into the light. What you got, Jerry?
Yeah, just exposing it, right? Just I agree with you 100% on that. How, Frank, how has you helping others helped you in your journey?
It's been everything, man. Like, I tell our guys and our community, I don't say I don't know if I would be here. Like, I still believe I would be walking in freedom, but I think the challenge would be a whole lot more difficult. And what's interesting is the community aspect, but the mentorship and guidance. You know, I talk a lot about my thoughts and opinions around 12 steps in AA and maybe some of the holes in their approaches. One thing they got right, though, is that service back, that community. Bill W., the founder of it, like, he was a struggling business alcoholic. He traveled the country doing business deals, and he struggled with alcoholism. And what he realized is his pattern of behavior every time he would travel to a new city is he would go find community in a bar. But that was ingrained in him. Like, he was a social guy. So instead of going to the bar looking for an escape through alcohol, he went to look for the next drunk. And that was the beginning of 12 Steps, is Bill W. literally say, if I can help one person in this city, I can help them, but it's going to help me. Knowing that there's a community of guys now that are a few steps behind me, encourages me to continue to grow, to develop myself. But there's a layer of accountability, like, that I got to show up every single day to lead these men, to lead our team now. So yeah, it's been everything.
That's awesome. And the reason I'm asking is there's some guys out here who have walked that journey and they're doing great. Don't say, all right, I got this. Go help somebody else. Go seek that house. And hey, I'm available. Here's my testimony.
Yeah.
I think that is spot on when you are saying that they got that right. I read a book when I first got saved. Someone gave it to me. Purpose-Driven Life.
Yeah.
At the end of the book, chapter 34, he says, Rick Warren says, your most effective ministry comes out of our deepest hurts. It's like there's some stuff these men that are watching haven't been through. Don't stay there and say, that guy has helped me. Go help another brother. Yo, share your story and invite someone. Hey, let's not do this alone. Because I agree with you. I think isolation is where the enemy just breeds that and breeds it. And our men are just, he's picking them off so quickly because of isolation, for sure.
Yeah. And I see it happen, and you guys are maybe witnesses. People will go through a powerful transformation. They'll be walking in a new identity. They'll find Christ. Have had some success, but because they stopped sharing that, they return back to their old self. Like you said, the enemy is always waiting to lure that. So part of you continuing to grow, I think, in your relationship with Christ is continuing to share that darkness of the past, not as if it's got a hold on you, but as a reminder to yourself of, if I don't keep pursuing these things, there is that version of me that I can fall back to.
I think a testimony is so powerful.
Yeah.
Because you share hope, there is a future past this thing, because guys can't see past that darkness. Then you share your testimony, it gives people hope. So absolutely.
So it's interesting that, there is, like you said, Jerry, Jesus sent them out 2 by 2, right? I'm thinking about Andrew running to find Peter. Like, Peter, I found the Messiah, bro. Like, he told me, the woman at the well, he told me everything, right? There are these moments, and Tony said it on our podcast. It's just like, I'm like, why are you so public with you? I don't think that was the question, but he was like, I'm public with my faith because that brings accountability.
Did say that. That was good.
Yeah. Right. And so I think that's important when we get delivered. The Bible says, they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and the word of that testimony. And so that's powerful. And if men in the church would just, or people who name the name of Christ would just share that and help others, would be a lot further along. I like it.
So as always, gentlemen, we're running out of time.
Oh my gosh.
So we're going to have to you're coming back, brother. They're going to say you're going to have to come back. I want to end, though, with something that was very, very powerful. You came and spoke to our men's group, and you said something to the effect of, a man will not understand himself truly until he is running after something greater than himself. Right? So we've kind of talked about how do we get ourselves out of this situation. We bring it into the light. We find a brother confess to. But how does a man really transform to become that superhuman life? Right? We're wired for reward. That's the way we are as men, right? We want to run to it. Let's run to the rewards that are sustainable. But talk to that man. Okay, you get a man listening right now. I said, all right, I want to get this into the light, but how do I sustain it long term? Yes, community is important, but what else is there? Is it reading 500 books? Is it getting into a career that is going to allow me to serve others? What is it that's going to sustain that man long term to really continue to pursue excellence in his life? What's up with that?
I told you guys before we hit record, I've done 301 episodes of The Superman Life, and I end every show in exactly the same fashion, whether I'm interviewing somebody about recovery, fitness, neuroscience, business. I always ask the guests, how do you define living a Superman life? Because for me, this was the journey that I set out on, of trying to understand it for myself. And over the 6 years, I began to define living a Superman life as understanding that you were created with purpose on your life, which means that there's a uniqueness inside of you, God-given.
Amen.
God-given uniqueness. I think a lot of people will regurgitate that and say, yeah, like God gave me something unique. I think it becomes superhuman when you become intentional about the development of that purpose and then share it with the world.
Say that again.
You're created with purpose, uniqueness. Your life and purpose, mission now is to develop that uniqueness and share it with the world. For me, that became in the fashion of podcasting and coaching and leadership. But if I look back at my life as a youth and as an athlete and as a boy, these were things that I was doing when I was a kid. I was the neighborhood organizer of sports teams. I was knocking on people's doors on a Saturday morning. Hey, we're going out to the field. We're going to organize a game. I was a person that fell in love with coaches because of the impact they had on my life. I go by Coach Frank because there were certain gifts that God gave me, the ability to see things in people that maybe they can't see in themselves. I think all of you sit in this seat here today because there's something very similar in you. That doesn't mean that every guy out there, though, is going to follow that same path. What it does mean, though, is that there's something unique in you. And I'm sure you guys could probably look back at your youth as well and see a lot of the things, same characteristics as we were younger boys. You know, what is it? I think Jesus said they will not enter the kingdom of God until they become childlike. And maybe paraphrasing that. Your uniqueness is going to be found in you understanding what brought you joy and passion as a boy. Wow. And that could, creative arts, it could be music, it could be sports, it could be service. So as you go down this journey of recovery, it may not lead you to a new career. It may not put you in a position where you're podcasting, but finding those gifts that bring you joy and happiness and figuring out a way to pursue them, intentionally develop them, which means learning new stuff, use the science of neuroplasticity to grow your brain, and then somehow share it, will undoubtedly bring you purpose, service, happiness, and peace.
What advice would you give? Yeah. Like, this is so good. I'm like, there's a lot of people that are attending church. They're going to church. There's some leaders watching this. What advice would you give a leader in the church, a pastor, church people, when they address the topic of pornography without bringing shame to the men? I just think the church misses that.
Yeah.
Can you do that in 30 seconds?
Jerry, I think the problem there, man, is the amount of leadership, not specifically in our church, but just across the board, because yes, a more generalized question, that are hiding it themselves. Yeah. And 56% of pastors struggle with it. And that's not a number that I came up with. That's Barna's Research 2019, Barna, BARNAA. You can look it up. In order to pass something on to others, you have to have it in your own life. So, if it's okay for me to call on the leadership, walk in freedom yourself first, because you're bringing the shame, because you're reflecting what you're struggling with. That's all we do in our conversations, is we reflect our internal thoughts onto others. I've talked to enough people in my life and have done enough psychoanalyzing of the way that people speak about themselves. If you truly pay attention to the way that people speak, they are mirroring a reflection of how they view themselves. So a pastor that's bringing shame to his congregation, I would advise the men to find a different messenger, because he is not going to be able to lead you, because he's leading from a place of shame himself. So maybe not the message that leadership wanted to hear, but I think it's one that needs to be heard.
Well, guys, we are out of time again on the Altered Manhood podcast. Again, like, subscribe, share. Check out Frank. I think it's Coach. What's your website?
Coach Frank. Website rebuilt recovery right now. But Coach Frank Rich everywhere else. You can't miss me if you plug that in to the internet.
Check him out. Look him up on YouTube. He's got tons of stuff on there. Just Google him. Thank you, Frank, for being here today. Man, really good conversation.
Yeah,
we will have to have part. These comes re-scratched the scratch of the scratch.
I mean,
yeah, I know. So I feel terrible. And it's like, man, we're out of time. Appreciate you guys. Stay tuned. More episodes to come. God bless you guys. Thanks for being here with us today.